Hi.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Bill Ulivieri with the Final Third Network. I'm here with Realtor and Hospice Specialist Virgina Trux, Glenview Chamber Board member, and longtime worker, right, business owner in Glenview.
Yes.
We're going to talk about issues facing seniors. Virginia, we had coffee a few weeks ago. I think you had mentioned that there was a term that is used, a senior real estate specialist.
An SRES, it's a designation.
It's a designation. So what we're going to do is just talk a little bit about that, and maybe you can just shed some light onto why something like that is important to you and why you are kind of heading in that direction.
So for me, I think the whole senior thing kind of evolved just because it just was. I organized my reunions for my high school, New Trier, and so I'm in touch with a lot of my friends still from my class, and they would call me and say, "Oh my gosh, my mom fell. What do I do? She can't come back to the house, and I don't know what to do with all of her stuff." So I just started to be helping my friends with their parents, and it was just something that evolved. Then I learned that there was a designation where I could kind of hone my craft, if you will, and I could learn more. So I earned my SRES designation.
So tell the people who are watching this episode, what do you do for seniors that you wouldn't normally do for regular people who are listing their homes? I mean, there's the due diligence, there's the staging, what is so different?
Well, I think with seniors, I've developed a process, and I think with seniors there's a lot more hand-holding. I think there are family members that are either in town or out of town that kind of need feet on the ground here. I think there are, which community do I go to? What are my options? Where do I go with these things? Who can hold an estate sale for me? How do I get rid of the rest of the stuff? What do I do with all this paint? What am I going to do? I mean, there's just so many questions.
All this junk? Yeah,
there's so many moving parts and moving pieces that it's a lot to coordinate. And I think that children don't often know where to begin. So, and also keep in mind, it's a role reversal. So sometimes it's really hard for children to then become the parent.
Yes.
So I think sometimes the situation goes a little bit longer than maybe it needs to, because it's very difficult for, like I said, the children to role reverse. Also, oftentimes with seniors, if they don't plan, I am dealing with a sense of urgency because it's in response to something
reactive rather than proactive.
Gosh, it's definitely reactionary,
it's like officer
and not
down.
Proactive. Yes, man down.
You said something really interesting about a role reversal, and that is a topic that Matt Berrafato, he's my partner in the Final Third Network. He's really talked about that because his own father-in-law had passed away from dementia, Alzheimer's. His dad currently is at Chestnut Square, if I'm not mistaken. While that's independent living, he still has a touch of the dementia, and this concept of role reversal, how the kid now becomes the parent and the parents are becoming more childlike, and that in itself has a whole nother level of stress and misunderstanding that maybe we can't appreciate it. So that's something that you're addressing. You're being a parent not only to the kids, but you're being a parent to the parent, right?
Well, I'm kind of like coaching or guiding the children. I speak to the sandwich generation, and I'm kind of putting together a website that will come out at some point soon. But putting together some information for that sandwich generation, where you're having your kids to apply for colleges and you're going on visits, but you have issues back home with your parents, and it's just kind of, you're stuck right there in the middle. And it's, for me, I am wanting to be a resource. I'm more of, I'm helping you. I'm not necessarily selling you. So,
can you think of any interesting things that have happened to you in the last year? Events where it could have been a family dynamic, it was everything went great and then exploded at the end, or maybe it exploded in the beginning and things closed really sweet. Like, can you maybe do you have one story that you can share without revealing the identities of anyone?
I think a lot of these situations are, you need to dance. It's a fine line, and it's definitely a dance. I don't know that anything's ever blown up, because I try to speak to the different, there might be a sibling who is taking care of mom, and there might be the other one who's, upset that the child's like living with mom or living off of mom, or where the items go out. I mean, it's such a stressful, emotional tenuous time that I just try to have all parties remember to slow down. You know, this is not about...
Not a mistake.
Right. This is not about, you know, when your sister borrowed your sweater and wrecked it back, you know, back in high school, because all that comes to the surface.
It's always on the front burner.
We
have some things in our own family that happened in the 70s. And it is as if it happened yesterday.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right. So I'm trying to think of a story. I don't think I've ever had anything blow up and then come together. I've had different family members like flying into town and is reactionary to somebody falling and having all the kids playing a different role, like 5 of them, six kids, and they were all played a different role, and I had to meet them each at their own level.
Are you able to initially sign like perhaps a power of attorney on behalf of the mom and dad so that you can do some of the work, like the legal little work? And I don't mean little work as if it's not important. I'm just saying, can they hand off some authority to you so that you can sign a few documents on their behalf, or is that like a fiduciary?
That's a different role. I would not do that. There are some people, the state will refer me sometimes to help out a ward. It's Adult Protection Services, APS. So they're like wards of the state, or they've been in a like an abusive, somebody's taking advantage of a senior, and they will assign me to the house.
So interesting that you mentioned that, because there is a woman who is an SEC attorney, a former SEC attorney that now owns her own practice, and we're going to be doing an interview about that. It's some of the financial, you know, what kind of things that financial advisors do, and people that are preying on seniors. So I would imagine you see that in your own industry somehow, maybe not to the extent that you might see an insurance salesman or financial advisor prey on client assets, but I think maybe those realtors kind of...
Right, we all have stereotypes, I think, of people. I like to go with people who have, you know, are servants, you know, who are very service oriented. I definitely protect the seniors with whom I work. I just met with a family. They lost a brother, 6 children. He was the youngest, and it was sudden. So they have no idea how to move forward or you know, what to do. So to be able to put them in touch with an estate attorney, and then to kind of, and they're out of the state. So to put them in touch, have them have a checklist so that they can have all their ducks in a row, be able to introduce them to those people and those resources that I've already vetted and that I trust and I work with. I think was very helpful for them. I think they were very relieved yesterday that they had like a plan moving forward.
So tell me a little bit, Virginia, about, I mean, I've been on the chamber board with you now for a year and a half. I've known you for a number of years, but never really had a great, a deep, long conversation with you. So these things that you're doing are really interesting to me. So I know that you're a hospice volunteer, and that's very important to you. So it isn't like you are doing the senior real estate specialist designation because it's just something to kind of hang on a wall, right? A shingle. It's really kind of who you are. So tell me a little bit maybe about your journey, what led you to hospice, and why that type of last end of life role is important to you.
So my first encounter with hospice was a friend. She was like a second mom to me, and it was her husband who was passing away. And I remember everybody being home and around, and then it was time for him to go to the pavilion. And the pavilion was a wonderful place. I mean, it was peaceful. It was, I get chills when I think about that first encounter with hospice. Fast forward, I mean, I had children and a family and had to raise them and whatnot. And then within my own family, I've lost a mom and a dad and 2 brothers.
Sorry.
And thank you. And I just don't want anybody to die alone. And I think that spoke to my heart. I love the way that our culture is starting to change the way that we do the final third in life.
Yes, I agree.
And the way that we pass. And so I sit vigils. I also do a lot of events with Journey Care, and you'll see more with me and Journey Care come down the pike.
And you're active in your church?
I just finished a 3-year term as a deacon, moderator. And so, that Winnetka Presbyterian Church, my parents were founding members there, and I have loved my church. It's important. Yeah.
Well, that's part of, I think what we're trying to bring here is that the people we're interviewing definitely have a spirit of service, and I'm not going to say that people who don't have religious bent aren't service oriented.
Right.
But I certainly see an overwhelming number of people who look to serve others outside their own inner circle in the religious organizations here in Glenview.
Right. Well, this just kind of came together. It was a culmination of my real estate sales with my hospice work, with Rotary and being connected in the community and having gone through Leadership Glenview, and it's just kind of a culmination of everything that I do.
So Virginia, we had just to switch a little ADD, we're going to switch complete topics. So we had a little conversation before we actually hit the record button, where perhaps someone who was owned a home and they were potentially thinking about going to a 55 plus community.
Oh, right.
And we have several of those in Glenview. Specifically, we have
new ones.
Amador going up. I'm actually talking with Jennifer Lazansky later on today. When I leave here, I'm going to go over there and do. So it isn't like an all or nothing. I mean, based on our conversation, it was like you have this beautiful home to a senior man, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
He could rent it out. Could he find someone to rent his place with you and then move into a 55 plus community, or does he go to like vacation rentals by owner and like how does it work?
No. So it was a gentleman that I was talking with, and he was not sure if he wanted to rent and go in that newfangled subdivision that was coming up, this new community. And I was just reminding him that the way that we as a culture are aging is changing. The days of being in a nursing home, like when my grandmother was in a nursing home and I went around and I untied everybody because I thought, how cruel to have everybody tied. I was in trouble. I was not allowed to go in the nursing home unsupervised after that.
Times have changed. I had a harness when I was a kid. And so it's not all that different. Really, Billy, come here, pull the leash.
So I was just talking with him that letting him know that senior communities versus nursing homes have changed considerably, and that he might want to go ahead and rent his property out and go live into it. He said, isn't that kind of transient? And I said, no, it's not transient. It's filled with activities and life, and it keeps you vibrant and living longer and engaged longer, and that's a pivotal point for how long we're going to last here.
Right. I think that the interaction with other people, swimming, the theater and the arts that go on,
conversation,
just being
happy hour,
being in a common area, right? So apparently, I was just talking to somebody who said at the V or the Vi, whatever the V, that they serve cocktails at like 2 o'clock every day. It's like cocktail hour, and so you have cocktails from like 2 to 3:30, and then you have appetizers, and then they have a beautiful kind of elegant type of dinner, and then after that, maybe people go back into the common area, they talk for a little while, and by this time the food coma and the drinks have hit, and you're ready for bed at like 7:30.
See,
and I'm like, that sounds awesome to me, because I'm an early to bed, early to rise kind of guy, so that would really fit into that kind of lifestyle.
Wonderful. But yes, I would be happy to help somebody sit down and look at where do they live, what's their situation, do they, and what are their options ahead. And yes, moving into Jennifer's place is certainly an option, and then we could kind of spruce up their property that may or may not have deferred maintenance, but sometimes seniors say, my mom used to say,
deferred maintenance. That is such a friendly thing to say.
So we go into their property, and we would spruce up their property so that they could rent it out, and then they could move in to their community.
I'm not mowing the lawn this weekend. I'm doing deferred maintenance. Oh, I love that. How are we doing on time here? So we have what time do we have? 10 after 7.
And it's 8:20.
Okay, 8:20. Okay, so we've got about so we've been doing this for 12 minutes. So we've got maybe 2 or 3 more minutes.
Okay.
Like, what else would you like to? Is there anything else that you wanted to mention? Any ideas? Any things that are kind of interesting tips that, frankly, we wouldn't have thought of on our own unless we had a conversation with you? What would you do if you were either one of 2 people are going to be watching this video? Either it's a son or daughter,
a
family member who is interested in knowing more about real estate and what it means for their mom and dad. Like, my mom and dad recently sold their home in Chicago,
I remember,
which was a 2-story, very steep farmhouse kind of stairs, and my mom slept in a bed on the first floor. So you would like open up the front door, and there was a dining room table and the kitchen and my mom's hospital bed. And now they live in a really nice single level condominium in Des Plaines.
And weren't they so excited to get there?
It was the hardest decision my dad ever had to make because my mom was emotionally attached to the house. My dad felt that he was like somehow failing in his role as provider, for the house.
Right.
But now that they made the move, best thing they ever did. I mean, crazy, the best thing ever.
And they probably said, why didn't we do this sooner?
They did.
Right.
They did.
See, because that's what happened. So I'm happy to be a resource to anybody, be it a child or be it the adult 55 and over, as to what some options locally might be, as to a checklist of things that you kind of want to think about as you're doing the final third.
Right.
It's what documents need to be in place and where do we want to keep all those documents. I have somebody who can come through and talk with you, have all those documents all organized and in a binder. There's also 5 wishes that I would provide a copy for you of the 5 wishes. And it's one thing to have your ducks in a row legally, but it's another to have your ducks in a row as to, Dr. Martha Twaddle, has her, I want red wine, I want this music playing, I want, these people around me. So she has it all laid out, and it's good to kind of think through those things so that then you don't create chaos among 5 children.
Yes.
That it's very laid out. So whether it's the children who need a checklist to talk with their parents, or whether it's the parents saying, okay, I think I'm ready and I need to talk with my children, I'm happy to provide resources either way.
So Virginia, if people were to contact you, they could get a copy of the initial checklist. Is that something you could provide to people that reach out to you?
Yeah.
All right, so how would people get a hold of you?
They can call me at 847-997-2042. You can also call 844-GOT-TRUX, which is my last name, TRUX. And my email is Virginia Trux. Another way might be trux@atproperties.com. Whichever is easier for you.
AT Properties or at? Oh, at AT Properties.
And it has to be AT Properties because it can't be at Properties.
Right.
So it's Trux, TRUX, @atproperties.com.
Very good. I'm Bill Ulivieri. We're going to close this session and film another one in a few minutes. I'm Bill Ulivieri, Senecal Capital Management, 847-686-4800. And we'll be back in 2 minutes.